think the world is just facing tough times, open your eyes wider. Every headline of disaster and despair isn't just bad luck or poor management. These are the markers, the signs, the clear signals sent from the scriptures themselves. Consider this. The Bible doesn't just speak in vague terms. It offers specific signs that we can observe and measure against what's happening around us. For instance, the increase in natural disasters, earthquakes in places they've rarely happened, unusual weather patterns disrupting lives and economies. These aren't mere anomalies. According to Matthew 24:7, Jesus specifically mentioned earthquakes as a sign of the end times. Now let's talk about the human element, our societies. The scriptures also touch on moral decay and the cooling of faith among many. Look around. What do you see? Societies more focused on material gain than spiritual well-being, increasing isolation despite, or perhaps because of, technological advances. This distancing from communal and spiritual engagements was predicted as a sign of the last days. Moreover, these aren't isolated events happening in far corners of the world. They are global, pervasive, and intensifying. Just in the past year, how many once-in-a-century events have we witnessed? Too many to count. And each one adds another tick mark to the checklist of biblical prophecy. Are these the tough times everyone refers to, or are we observing the precise unfolding of biblical prophecy? The evidence isn't just compelling, it's overwhelming. Every disaster, every breakdown in societal norms isn't just happenstance. It's a forewarned sequence of events, a meticulously outlined prophecy that we are now witnessing in terrifying clarity. Think again. Dismissal is easy until the evidence mounts so high it becomes undeniable. Here we stand, surrounded by a world in turmoil, just as it was written. The skeptics may scoff, the doubters may deny, but the signs are aligning too perfectly with Scripture to ignore. Take a closer look at the conflicts erupting across the globe. Jesus didn't just speak of natural disasters as signs. He warned of wars and rumors of wars, nations rising against nations, kingdoms against kingdoms. Today we see geopolitical tensions at a peak, with conflicts not just between countries but within them, splintering societies and destabilizing regions. And what about famines? Global hunger issues are escalating. Despite advances in technology and agriculture, food insecurity is worsening, influenced by climate change, wars, and economic disparities. This aligns eerily with the prophecy of famines as a signal of the end times. Moreover, consider the social decay, increasing selfishness, a decline in empathy, rampant materialism, and a departure from spiritual values. These too were foretold as signs of the last days, marking a society moving further from divine teachings and closer to its own undoing. These aren't random snippets of history repeating itself. They are the calculated predictions of a future foretold, now crashing into our reality with undeniable precision. Each event, each crisis, each societal shift was not only predicted, but serves as a stark reminder of the timeline we are on. Are you still thinking these are mere coincidences? Or is it becoming clear that we're witnessing a script unfold, one that was written long before any of us walked the earth? As we connect these dots, it's crucial to move past denial and into a phase of acceptance and understanding. This isn't about fear, it's about facing reality with courage and foresight. This is prophecy in real time, folks. Every disaster and social breakdown you're witnessing today isn't a shock to those who've studied the scriptures. These events were not only anticipated, they were explicitly described in biblical texts as clear indicators of the approaching end times. Consider the rampant disease outbreaks we're seeing. Beyond the pandemics, there are resurgences of diseases once thought controlled or eradicated. This is not just a public health issue, it's a prophetic signpost. In Luke 21:11, Jesus mentions pestilences in various places as a precursor to the end. Each outbreak, each wave of disease serves not just as a challenge to our medical systems, but as a biblical marker, confirming that what was written thousands of years ago is manifesting now. Then, look at the technological advancements. While they bring many benefits, they also usher in a new era of surveillance, control, and moral dilemmas. Revelation speaks of a time when no one can buy or sell without the mark of the beast, a scenario made more conceivable with today's technology. The digital footprints we leave, the data collected, the privacy we forfeit, all these elements align disturbingly well with prophetic descriptions of total control and oversight. These are not isolated, unrelated events. They are part of a larger, divine narrative that has been unfolding over centuries. Earthquakes, famines, nations crumbling. These aren't just fragments of a dystopian novel. They are stark realities hitting closer to home with each passing day. The ground shakes, the crops fail, and the governments falter, all while we watch, sometimes helplessly. But why does this not surprise those who have been keeping an eye on biblical prophecies? Look at the data on natural disasters. They're not just more frequent, they're more severe. Earthquakes in diverse places, once rare or unheard of, now shake communities to their core, literally and metaphorically. The scriptures pointed to this. There will be great earthquakes, Luke 21:11 declares, and here we are, feeling the tremors that ripple across our planet. Famines, too, are spreading their shadows wider. Global supply chains are disrupted by environmental catastrophes and political strife, leading to shortages and hunger in places once secure. These famines are not just physical, but spiritual, as people hunger for truth and meaning amidst the chaos. As for nations crumbling, the rise of internal conflicts and the breakdown of societal structures are symptoms of deeper spiritual and moral crises. The prophecy didn't just warn of physical wars, but of the erosion of societal cohesion, of the very glue that holds nations together. These phenomena are not mere incidents. They are symptoms, warning signs that the fabric of our world is being stretched thin, tested by the pressures foretold long ago. As these events unfold, they're not just news items, they are echoes of ancient words, a reminder that we are indeed living in times prophesied. Each crack, each rumble, each cry for help is a verse of prophecy coming to life, urging us to look beyond the immediate to the eternal narrative written for our times. Jesus called it centuries ago in Matthew 24, and we're living the nightmare. He didn't mince words. He laid it out plainly for all who would listen. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. These words, spoken so long ago, resonate with chilling accuracy today. Let's break down these predictions. Nation against nation. We are witnessing an era where geopolitical tensions are not just threats, they are daily realities. Conflicts are no longer confined to distant battlefields, but are visible in economic sanctions, cyber warfare, and ideological clashes that span continents, kingdom against kingdom. This goes beyond countries. It's about ideologies and cultures clashing in ways that destabilize societies from within. It's political factions, social movements, and even religious groups pitting against each other, creating fractures that are deep and hard to mend. Famines and earthquakes, already discussed in detail, these natural and societal calamities are not just incidents, but indicators. They serve as a global pulse check, revealing the health or sickness of our planet in real time. Jesus' prophecy was not just a warning, it was a roadmap, highlighting signs that would indicate the nearing of the end times. As these signs unfold, they affirm that his words were not mere cautionary tales, but precise forecasts of future events. Every event that aligns with his prophecy, reinforces the truth of his teachings and the reliability of the Bible as not just a historical document, but a living, breathing guide that continues to reveal the state of the world through its prophetic lens. As we navigate these tumultuous times, these words provide not just context, but a call to awareness and action. And we're living the nightmare. As we see these prophecies unfold, it's hard to dismiss the sinking feeling that we are not just spectators, but participants in a script written long before our time. The nightmarish reality of our current world, fraught with chaos, suffering, and unpredictability, isn't just a rough patch, it's a foretold era. The severity of our times isn't accidental. It's orchestrated in the fabric of prophecy, etched into the timeline of human history as clear milestones toward a destined conclusion. This nightmare we're experiencing. It was forecasted, discussed, and documented, serving as a stark reminder that we are not merely drifting through history. We are moving towards a prophetic fulfillment. Each headline of war, every report of a natural disaster, each story of societal breakdown isn't just news, it's confirmation. We're living in times that were described in vivid detail by prophets who saw beyond their earthly existence into our days. This realization can be overwhelming, even terrifying, but it's also a call to action. It's a wake-up call for every one of us to reassess our lives, our priorities, and our commitments. Are we contributing to the chaos or to the solution? Are we living in fear? Or are we finding ways to bring hope and stability in the midst of these turbulent times? The nightmare is real, but so is the opportunity to rise above it, to fulfill a role that has been laid out for those who choose to see beyond the darkness. This isn't just about survival. It's about making a meaningful impact, guided by the wisdom that has been passed down through the ages. Today, we're tearing into the stark reality that we're not just approaching the end times, we're smack in the middle of them. It's no longer a distant possibility or a scenario discussed in theoretical terms. It's our current reality. Each sign, each event, each shift is not a vague indicator, but a glaring beacon that the prophesied last days are upon us. As we dig deeper, it becomes evident that these aren't sporadic occurrences, but interconnected events weaving together a narrative foretold. The escalation of global crises, political upheavals, environmental disasters, social disintegration are not random. They are pieces of a larger puzzle, each fitting perfectly into a pre-designed prophetic framework that outlines the end times. This reality might be daunting, but it's also illuminating. It provides a lens through which we can view world events not just with concern, but with understanding. Knowing that these events are part of a greater plan allows us to navigate them with a purpose, not just react in fear. We're invited to look at these crises not as the end, but as the transformational process leading to a new beginning. This perspective isn't just comforting, it's empowering. It calls us to live intentionally, to engage with our communities, and to be part of the spiritual awakening that these times demand. We're not just approaching the end times, we're smack in the middle of them. This isn't a drill or a hypothetical scenario. It's the stark and undeniable truth of our current existence. Each unfolding event, each global crisis, isn't just a tick on the timeline. It's a loud and clear signal that the prophetic clock isn't just ticking, it's ringing alarm bells. The signs are not subtle, they are as clear as they were detailed in the scriptures. The intensity and frequency of these signs are not just increasing, they are converging. We're seeing a culmination of events that many scholars and theologians have long warned about, but many chose to ignore. Now, with each passing day, the evidence becomes harder to dismiss. We're not on the brink of the end times. We are living in them. This realization can be frightening, but it also serves as a crucial wake-up call. It urges us to look beyond the everyday and to consider the bigger picture. What does it mean to live in such times? It's a time for reflection, for re-evaluation of our values and our life paths. It's a call to spiritual vigilance and readiness, to ensure that we are not just caught up in the flow of events, but are actively preparing ourselves for what these times demand. This is not a moment to be passive. It's a time to be alert, informed, and proactive in our spiritual lives and our communities. The signs are clear, and the time is now. Are we ready to face what comes next with courage and faith?